Hey, Mike here, and we are back with another hook and lift map. And this time we are looking at John Summit's Make Me Feel, probably one of my favorite tracks, at least so far, of 2021. This track basically, in my opinion, follows all the rules in the best way. I mentioned this in another, what's it called, a hook and lift map analysis. And there's this saying that I've heard before. It goes like, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And I think producers and artists alike really like that saying for the last part of the quote. So you can break the rules like an artist because you feel creative, you feel cool. And there's nothing wrong with being creative and experimenting and stuff. But I really like the first part of that quote, okay? Learn the rules like a pro. And so I've augmented the quote a little bit, which is learn the rules like a pro. Wait, yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher this. Hold on one second. Learn the rules like a... Yeah, I think it goes like this, okay? Learn the rules like a pro so you can follow them like a pro, okay? So silly little change, but when I hear this track, it's super creative, but to me it just follows the rules to a T. And so I'll try to like talk about what those quote unquote rules are. And of course, rules are meant to be broken, but not in this case. This case, I think this track is pretty flawless in terms of following the rules of being effective, doing what a lot of the top tracks consistently, predictably do over and over and over. And it was no surprise that this lasted a long time at the top because it just hits all the right buttons. And so again, like I said, what we'll try to do is pull out some of those rules, and it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's done very well. It's done very simply. So the simple stuff is done very simply. Anyway, so what is a hook and lift map? A hook and lift map is where we are going to check on the development. We're going to map out the development of the hooks in the track over time. So what hooks are chosen, and then how do they develop? Because that's what it's all about. Because you can have two tracks that have that use the same hook, but one explodes, right? But the other one doesn't. So what's the difference? Okay, it could be the groove sound. That could certainly be an important part of it. But what I think is more important, assuming they're both good grooves, okay, what I think is more important is the way that the hooks are placed and developed over time. Okay, are you able to place the hooks in a way that is exciting, that builds the right amount of tension and then pays off and releases that tension? And in my opinion, a lot of people talk about John's drums, and I think the thing that he does the best is developing the arrangement, the way that the track evolves over time. That's what I think his main talent is. And for his drums and his groove, I think he likes to keep it, in my opinion, I think he likes to keep it pretty simple so that the groove basically is kind of playing a supportive role over what's going on top, because he really pushes the hooks out in front of the track, which is kind of like a pop thing to do. But the fact that they're so present in the mix, they're so big, makes the track stand out and makes it really memorable. Anyway, so I think that we're going to learn a lot from the hook development of this track. And again, I think that's in my opinion, that's one of John's biggest talents, is his ability to arrange a track over time in a compelling and simple way, an extremely effective way, obviously, because he keeps on getting up there. The second thing that we do in a hook and lift map, so we covered hooks, and the second thing we do is look at the lifts of the track. So how does the energy lift? Okay, and so an obvious example would be adding a ride. So you play 8 bars of the drop, the next 8 bars of the drop, you get a ride. That is an example of a lift. Now, of course, lifts, you take them away to settle energy. And so what we'll be doing is paying attention to those sounds that manipulate the energy levels over time, okay? And that's about it. That's what a hook and lift map is. It's an exercise only in trying to study in a detailed way the arrangement and the most important elements of the arrangement, the way that the hooks develop over time and the way that the energy is manipulated over time by bringing in sounds and taking away sounds. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get started. All right. We're not going to do a detailed analysis of the beat, of the groove, or of the bass, of the sound design. We're just looking at what is there and trying to figure out why. Okay, so let's go ahead and start listening and start creating our little map here. All right, off to a great start. We got a beat. Okay, so let's go ahead and start mapping this out. Get these colors changed here. All right, so we got a beat. Let's split this over 8 bars because it's going to go on for 8 bars. And so right away, one thing I want to point out, and again, we're not going to go deep into this here, but you got a motif. Okay, when I'm talking about rules, I really like percussion motifs. Percussion motifs for me are like little hummable drum melodies that just kind of go throughout the entire track, and they create a kind of hypnotic hook inside the groove. It tends to be subtle, but it just repeats, and it's kind of like an identifier for the groove, but it just repeats over time, and it's right away we get one. So, I mean, that's it. Just the little beat. Okay, the little block, clave, whatever, and then the boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Like that's pretty melodic. Okay, like it's just a little drum. That just repeats. All right. All right, and so we're going to start creating. I know there's a couple things that came in here. So right away, we're getting a lift in the intro, and that's just going to be tops 16th shaker. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add that, and we'll duplicate this over, and we'll drag that down. And then on these tracks, we're going to just create our basic effects tracks. Which are going to be effects accent, effects up, and effects down. And these are just basically the 3 ways that you can use effects to communicate what the energy is doing. Okay, so you can build tension, okay, by using up effects because you create anticipation, like a riser tells you that something is coming. A down effect settles the energy, releases tension sometimes. And so it can be like a long laser down that goes into the main break, okay? And just kind of settles the energy before you use up effects to rise it back up. Okay, so you've got rising tension, you've got falling release, if that makes any sense. Okay, but those are both different ways to manipulate the energy. Okay, we're building the energy up, or we're bringing the energy down. We're settling the energy down. And with the accent is a way to just create a spike in a track, a spike of energy, just accent a moment. And great example, I'll say it every single time in these hook and lift maps, is a crash. Okay, you're just accenting a moment, all right? And so let's see what we got here, because I completely forgot where we are, but now you know the different effects tracks that we're going to be creating. And so there might be like 20 different risers, okay, but we're not going to map out all 20 risers. We're just going to create one little clip that says up, okay? Because if you're using this as a reference, you don't need to go get 20 risers. That's not important. What's important is understanding that you need to communicate that the energy is building, okay, that we're building tension. So we're just going to create simple clips for up, down effects, and accent effects. Okay, and there we go. So the reason why we went down that little ramble was because we got a little reverse vocal here, okay, reverse vox. And we're also going to create a little edit map. An edit map is just any little thing that happens. Like right here, you can see the kick goes away, or maybe it's a high pass kick, but we're just going to put a nice little clip in there. Not going to do too much detail on it. Okay, so here we have a little bit of an edit, and I'm just going to write HP on there because it's just basically high passing. But we have another little transition kind of thing, and we have another reverse Vox, but it's a little bit higher. I'm not sure if it's the same one. It might be. One might just be a pitch down, like maybe an octave. The other one might be an octave up, but we'll do low, and then this one will be high. Actually, that might just be white noise. No. I don't know. Over here, I hear some kind of valley vocally sounds. I don't know. I'm just going to write white noise as well. Whatever. Doesn't matter. All right, so we're going to have some, I'm going to create a new effects, and it's going to be called Atmos, just for some atmospheric kind of stuff. And so you can hear this kind of like breathy background ambience, atmospheric stuff. All right, and of course, I'm not forgetting, we've got the bass in here now, okay? And this is gonna be high passed. So one thing I wanna start doing is just paying attention to the organization of the track, the structure, because like I said, John's really good at arrangement, and just the structure of this track is, like I said, pretty flawless. But one slight deviation, and deviation is probably the wrong word because it sounds like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just not as common, I would say, is having an intro break like this. So one thing you could do is just not have it. Okay, obviously that doesn't work. You have to smooth it out, but anyway, what he's doing here is he's introducing the bass line, which is cool because then, you know, a DJ could mix in right here with the bass line coming in. It's also going to be a Vox rep or a vocal rep, so it kind of teases the hook that comes later on. And so this is doing a couple things. So yeah, I just wanted to point it out. We're going to go over what I would call like the traditional tech house arrangement later on, but one variation that you can do on the traditional arrangement is to have an intro break like this. Another one is to have an outro break. And I think John's track, Beauty Sleep, has an outro break. So if you're interested, you'll see all it is like after the main drop, there's going to be a little bit of a break, usually 8 bars, maybe sometimes 16 bars, that then takes you to the outro. Okay, but again, later on, we'll discuss kind of the full traditional arrangement. But I just thought I'd point it out right away that this isn't something that's common, but it makes a lot of sense what he's doing here and why it's there. So there's a little bit of like a little bit of a feedback kind of thing, like a high resonance kind of thing. So a little bit of an up effect, anticipating a change, which comes right here when the vocal comes up. Okay, we're also getting this Vox rep down here. Oh, I'm sorry, the reverse vocal. Okay, and we're going to touch on that later because that's really important. That's a key part of this track. One of the rules I was talking about before. Yeah. Okay, so let's... All right, so the 16th is going across, and what we'll do is create Vox. This is going to be Make Me Feel... Okay, so Make Me Feel phrase rep. And so this is going to be classic, where you, one of the, again, the rules, I might not refer to them as rules, but when I say something like classic, that's kind of an indicator. So one of the most common ways to introduce a vocal is to repeat it with a low pass filter going up, okay? And I call this a Vox Rep LP up, okay? And I'll write it out right here, Vox Rep LP up, okay? Tons and tons of tracks do this. It's very effective. It's just a simple way to bring something in. Okay, so here we have a snare roll at 4, okay? And the snare roll at 4 is a low passing up, so LP up. It'll probably open up. I don't know if it'll stay low. It'll probably open up. Okay, let's see. Yeah. All right, cool. And then we get a pipo. Again, a classic thing to do right here, okay? Just one of those rules, okay? A pipo, what is it? A pipo stands for pattern, interrupt, payoff. And so here we're establishing lots of patterns, okay? We got the vocal repetition. That's a pattern. We got the snare roll. That's a pattern. And then all of a sudden, boom, those patterns get interrupted. They get chopped off, basically, okay? So pattern, interrupt. And then we get the payoff. And that's just going to be the title line. It's the way you make me feel, I think. Yeah. Okay, so pipo. You got your pattern interrupt, boom, gets cut off, and then you got your payoff, and then boom, okay? We're going to get into the drop. All right, cool. And I love that he doesn't resolve the vocal, right? He doesn't resolve it. It's the way you make me, and then it just delays out. There's no resolution to that. That's really, really cool. Because obviously you could easily just land on feel, but it was a conscious decision not to do that because it doesn't want it to resolve. That's a little trickery right there. I like it. Okay, and I know the tops don't come in because that's going to be a lift, but let's listen. What's going on? You know what? Let's do this, and we'll just call this delay. Okay. Yeah, whatever. All right, and we're getting these again, okay? Okay, we're getting a 16th hat lift right from the intro. We're getting it now in the bass drop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start labeling this stuff. Okay, so this is intro break, and obviously this guy right here is intro. Okay, so intro break, and then we have the bass drop, which is where we just introduced the bass. The bass is introduced here as a high pass, but the bass drop is obviously a drop. So we're going to get the full low end. We're going to get the kick and the bass. And so the bass drop, a proper bass drop, is just like this. So this is one of the rules that John's following, where you just play the bass line at first. You just play the bass line. You're teaching people the bass line before you throw hooks on top of it. All right? Now, he's already snuck this in actually in the intro break here, okay? Kind of like an intro break kind of build, but he's already snuck it in, the bass line with the high pass and the vocal rep. He's already snuck this in, but everything's going to come back together right over here, okay? In the part B of the drops, we're going to get this vocal over the drop. But right now, we're just going to play the bass drop. Okay, just the bass over the beat, and that's it. That's a proper bass drop. Okay, cool. So, oh man, let me think. So here we got a couple things going on. Check it out. Okay, so there's a couple things. We have, I'm just going to say white noise up. We have a snare roll up. And we have kind of a stutter synth that's just kind of like playing with the snare. And so these guys are going to be really important. And I might as well introduce the concept now. Maybe I'll go into it later, so I'll try to be really quick about it. But it's actually kind of advanced, so I might as well talk about it. So we're going to talk about punks, okay? Talk about this in every hook and lift map. Punks stands for punctuation points or marks, okay? So like in a sentence, you might have two clauses, you've got a comma, and then at the end you got a period, okay? But the period is more dramatic than the comma. And the same thing goes on in music, okay? So in a break section, or I'm sorry, in a drop section like this, we have 8 bars. And so at the end, we might have something like a little dramatic kind of edit. Okay, nothing too crazy, but a little bit dramatic. And then halfway through at the 4-bar mark, we might have something a little bit less dramatic, but there's typically something there. Okay, in this case, there's not something there, but that's okay. What we have here are what I call P8s. Okay, so this is a P8, this is a P4. So that stands for punk around the 4-bar mark, or punk around the 8-bar mark. Okay. And so those are the most important for an 8-bar section. The most important is the P8. Next would be the P4, and those are both pretty important, okay? Then you can have like a P6 and a P2, and those are way down on the totem pole. Okay, so P8 way at the top, P4 kind of just below it, and then the P6 and the P2 are way down below on the totem pole. But that's what a punk is, okay? A punk just stands for punctuation mark. So the punctuation mark within an 8-bar segment, okay? But you can also have, of course, punctuation marks at the 16. Okay, so like if we have the sentence that has a comma and then a period, and then the next sentence has an exclamation mark at the end, right? And the exclamation mark is more dramatic than the period. And so that's the concept behind punks, is it just kind of adds structure and interest at the important parts of an 8-bar segment, 8 to 16 bars, okay? And so what's going on here is we have a P8 and we have a P16. But you can see the P16 here is more dramatic than the P8, which is exactly on point. Even there's a small maybe edit here. Okay, so here he just dropped a kick. Okay, he just took out a kick. And then over here, there's a little bit more of a dramatic edit, right? So he's taken out the kick. Maybe it's high passed. I didn't pay too much attention right there. But listen to what else is going on. Listen to what else is going on. We got a white noise up, we got a snare roll, and we have this kind of stutter synth. And and then over here, we just have a reverse vocal and a kick cuts under. And so this is less dramatic. The P8 is less dramatic than what's going on the P16, which is exactly right. Okay, that's one of the rules I was talking about before. But here's one more thing. Here's the next level. That's why I said this might be a little bit advanced. It's just this next level part, which isn't crazy. Nothing beyond anyone's understanding. But what John's doing is he repeats these, okay? And that might sound, okay, well, that's kind of basic, but it's not, because it's what I call signposting. When you repeat these things over and over, you're creating, like, you're telling the listener basically where they are in the song, what they can expect. And so these are going to repeat later on in the drops, okay? These exact same little punks, these exact same little edits are going to repeat in the drops. And it just gives a structural stability and clarity to the track, which is so important. Again, that's one of the things that John's really good at, is just this clarity throughout the arrangement. And one of the tricks of the trade there is having these, you could say, recycled punks or edits that just go across the track. And this is something in my own tracks that I spend a lot of time on, just making sure that they're right. I try to make it subtle so it's not so obvious, but and in this case, I don't think it's obvious at all. It's done perfectly. But it's definitely something you do because you're teaching people where they are in the song so they feel comfortable. And then you can change up the expectations sometimes to create an exciting moment. But these little things really help with the clarity and the organization and the structure, and someone being able to easily digest the track over time. So we talked about 2 things here, which is basic punks. So the most important, P8, P4, inside 8 bars. And then lower down is the P2, P6. And then, of course, P16 would be a little bit more dramatic than the little punk or edit that happens at the 8-bar mark. And then finally, when you repeat certain punks or edits, then then I call those signposts. And it just really helps with the structural clarity of the track. All right. So hopefully that was informative, but that's something here that just I love about this track because it's done really well. So let's go. All right, so here we got just a break section. So this is going to be B1. So we have the bass drop, and then after bass drop, we have B1. So we'll go ahead and write that, B1, okay. And so here we have a bit of a white noise downshift. Now we can also call this an accent. You know, I go back and forth on this, but sometimes they can just be the same thing, right? Because that white noise there is accenting the change into the break, but it's also helping settle the energy. So it's doing two things at once. So I'm totally fine just labeling it accent and downshift. All right, let's bring over those Atmos over here. So here now we have the full vocal. Okay, before we just had the low pass up. That sounds pretty full right there, but it started low passed. Okay, so here it started low pass too. I don't think I mentioned this, but at the end of the bass drop, we're getting a transition. Okay, and the transition is going to be that Vox Rep LP up, and then we're getting that the P16 here, or the edit, and then that helps us roll into the break. Okay, but one other thing to talk about when we're on this kind of subject of structural clarity is there's really three things that you can do with your sections. Okay, you can do, it's called chill, lift, and trans. That's what I call them. You can chill out on a section. So right here, we're just chilling in the drop. Okay, people are dancing, they're chilling. The next thing you could do is you lift the energy, and we'll see that over here in the drops. But you're chilling, and then you lift the energy with the sound. Okay, remember we're doing hook and lift maps, so that's going to be important. So we're chilling, and then we lift the energy with a ride or with a shaker, something like that. Like over here, we had a shaker lift. That's an example of a lift. What are you doing right here? You're lifting the energy over and above what came before. So this would be like a chill section. This would be a lift. But the third one that we can do is trans, so transition. So chill, lift, and trans. What's going on in any given section? Now, you can have a lift and a trans going on. So here we could, that's exactly what's actually going on, because we have the shaker lift, and we have the Vox Rep LP up, which is the trans element, and this is the lift element. So this is a lift slash trans. But that's it. You could divide the pretty much any track up into doing one of these three things. Okay, so chill and lift and trans can happen at the same time. Chill usually is just by itself, right? Because you have to lift above a chill and you have to transition from a chill kind of thing. All right, but again, this is just structural clarity that we're talking about here, and this is super high level on what anything that you can do in a drop section is, or even in a break section, is chill, lift, and trans. And the way to remember that is CLT, okay? If you say that in your head, you can remember it really easily, especially if you think that lift is spelled L-I. So you get C, L-I, okay? So CLT, all right? Those are the three types of energy that you can do in any given section. And so again, it's just giving an extra level of structural clarity to what's going on. This 8-bar section, chilling out. This 8-bar section, we're lifting the energy and is simultaneously transitioning using a Vox Rep LP up into the break one, okay? Yes. All right. This is my favorite part of this whole track, is this these build sections that he has. So this is build rep. Okay. So we'll create a new Vox thing here, and I'm putting it on a new track. It's probably on the same track in his project, maybe not. Who knows? But actually, I think he broke this track down in one of the Repopulate Mars Master classes. And so if anyone has any other insight, leave it down below the video. I haven't seen it, but I should definitely watch it. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how I even got there, and I was like, who knows if it's on the same project, if it's on the same track. It probably is. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just telling you the reason why I'm separating these out is because it's a different vocal line, and so I want to have that visual difference in the map. Okay, so we'll get into this in a second. Let's just see what else has changed, and then we'll come back to the vocal. Okay. All right. So here we're getting another shaker lift. Well, that's kind of cool. Just following the structure of what came before. So here we got that shaker. What about in the beer? Okay. Okay, so on both of these we get the lift. That'd be cool if he didn't have that here, because then look at this. We would have, let's see, 2 minutes of parallel structure with that shaker lift in the B of every 16 bars. So the A would be the first 8, B would be the 16, and so we would get that shaker on the last 8 of every 16 bars here. But we're still, that's consistent over here. Anyway, just pointing out, again, one of the themes of this track is just going to be that structural clarity, so I was looking back on that. Okay, so this vocal here. This vocal is really cool because, like, if you just listen to it, it creates a lot of tension. You can feel that. Now, it creates tension over and above this. Listen to this. This is kind of chill. Okay, that just can keep on repeating, but when this repeats, it has like an inherent energy in it. And the reason that is because of those kind of chaotic melodic leaps. And so he picked the perfect thing to repeat in the build section, because he's repeating a section of the vocal that has these exciting melodic jumps and leaps, and it's just perfect for what the vocal needs to do at this time. Now, an extremely popular technique is to make the vocal repeat in the build section. Okay, but a lot of times what's done is you take the first phrase or the last phrase of whatever phrase or verse you're working with, and you repeat that, and then you repeat it faster as you get even closer to the peak of the build section. But in this case, he's not doing that. He's not repeating anything from here. A slice of this is being repeated, but he's not just simply repeating the first line or the last line, for example, even though it's really just, it's the way you make me feel kind of thing. But he's taking the most exciting part of this vocal right here, which is the part where it jumps in melody. It's that part, and repeating that. It creates a lot of instability. Okay, and so what I'm trying to say is the section of the vocal that he repeated inherently has a lot of tension because of the melodic leaps, and that was a perfect choice for what to put in this section. Right? Remember, we're thinking about hook development here. And so what is being chosen to serve as the tension element, the transition element into the next drop? And it is this vocal that has a jumpy melody, that has these exciting melodic leaps, because that creates instability and creates tension. So that's all I'm saying. It's just well chosen because it builds tension, just the repetition alone, just the part of the vocal that repeats. Okay, I think I've said that 50 times now, so I'll stop. The next part of this that I really like is that he has a synth that follows the leader. Okay, this is another rule, but you can always break, but this is tried and true, proven technique, is he just has a synth that's following that melody in the vocal. If you were going to do some kind of counter melody, I just wonder if it would be effective, because this just creates so much tension by itself. It's serving the function that it needs to serve, and then he's just highlighting that with a new sound, with the synth that's playing a 16th note rhythm. And so it kind of has this fast, unstable kind of rhythm to it beyond the kind of jumpy melody. So both of these guys two together, okay, they create a lot of instability. They create a lot of tension, which is exactly what is needed in this build section of the break as we transition into the drop. All right, so that's why this is my favorite part of this track, these build sections. Little crash right there. No crash, no crash, no crash. Okay, we do have a little bit of an accent here. Same thing as before. Let's just do white noise, and then same thing right here. More of a bright noise, you know, but bright noise is just filtered white noise. It doesn't matter, it's just noise. Okay, cool. Just checking to see where the crashes are, and this is really like the first one. Okay, but we have that little feedback thing going on right here again. Okay, so let's just do feedback. All right. All right, we got that snare roll again at the 4. This time it seems like it's a little bit more open than it was before. So if we listen, we're just going to hear the lows, the low mids. Okay, here it's a little bit more open. Okay, we get the tops in right away, just more exciting, boom. And then one other thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned, I mentioned follow the leader, but that's just a technique, follow the leader. The synth is following what the vocal is doing. Okay, so that's what I meant by the tried and true technique, is the synth just follows whatever the vocal is doing. That's a very popular thing to do with bass lines. So you go find a popular hook, and then the bass line that you write is basically following whatever the vocal is doing, usually like a simplified version of it, but something that is definitely recognizable in the vocal, like the catchy part of the vocal. And you just write a bass line that mimics that melody movement or just the melody itself, and then boop, you got your bass line as you just repeat it out over, you know, a bar, 2 bars, whatever. But that's another example, a very popular technique of following the leader, okay, following the vocal with the bass. But in this case, we're following the leader or the vocal with the synth, okay. All right, then everything here, it sounds like he's using Endless Smile to make everything kind of wash out. Another plugin you could use, like Bass Clef's Easy Wash, but it just pushes things out into a reverb and basically high passes things up. In a nutshell, that's what it does. But yeah, let's go ahead and take this out because we got the Pipo now. Remember, Pipo stands for Pattern Interrupt Payoff. And he has the exact same Pipo for all of the drops, okay? Really cool, just simple. It's really cementing that line, because when you have everything built up and it cuts, and then you got your title line, boom, who's gonna forget that? No one is gonna forget that, okay? All right, cool. Let's just make sure we got everything. I'm kind of ignoring the effects down here. Let's see if we got any risers. Yeah, there's I don't know, the vocals growing in reverb, probably from the Endless Smile or whatever washout is being used. And then here, there's a little bit of a delay on the synth that seems to be growing. You could hear the delay as we get into the Pipo. Check it out. Okay, real soft, but it's there. Yeah, I'm not hearing any effects. Let's just move on. Okay.
It's the way you look at
All right, so here we're getting the 16th note shaker. All right, and let's see if there's a accent. Yeah, there is. It sounds like there's a crash. It's definitely a crash. White noise. Let's see, crash. I'm gonna put a question mark. Okay, cool. So now, of course, we're interested in the hooks of the track. And so here we're getting the big hooks. Okay. We're getting what I call the entry spots or the spot hooks. Okay. So let's start writing these out. And so one of them is going to be, let's see, we've got the, let's just call it the synth riff. Okay. That starts off, kicks things off. Okay, let's just put that there. Okay, so that is the synth riff, and then we've got the what you've been doing. What you've been doing. Okay, and that of course is a vocal, and that is John himself. That goes right there. And then we got those two little synth stabs. Okay, synth stab. And they're just panned. One plays left, one plays right, but they both happen on the 16th before the second strong beat. So if we come over, so here and here, check it out. And then that repeats. Okay, so we'll go over here. What did we have right there? What did I tell you was coming? It's the signposts. Yep, these guys right here. Okay, you know what? Maybe let's color these yellow. Okay, just so they really stand out. I made a big deal of that early on, so might as well make it a big deal in the hook and lift map. Now, this is something that a lot of producers I'll hear when I listen to their music try to do, and I don't want to put anyone down, but they'll try to do this where you have this presentation of hook after hook after hook. You know, dubstep is the craziest one of all, having like sound after sound after sound, just following each other. But when this isn't pulled off correctly, it just sounds like chaos. It just sounds, all the sounds are disjointed. They're not connected to each other. There's no space to enjoy. But this is just very simple, just boom, boom, boom. And so I just think this is a good example of if you want to have what I call spot hooks. And spot hooks are where here's a hook, there's a hook, and there's a hook, right? It's not just like one kind of hook or synth lead or vocal melody that's playing. You're having different sounds serving as different hooks. So we have the synth riff, that's one hook. We've got the what you've been doing vocal, that's another hook. And we've got these synth stabs that are another hooks. And so that's why I call these spots. They just happen in their little spot. And but spot hooks, you got to be careful because they can get really chaotic. But obviously here you can see how organized the presentation is. Synth hook, what you've been doing, we got our stabs. That just repeats, okay? Okay, and we got the same little kit cut as before. All right, so we already have the tops and the 16th shaker coming in. So the question is, well, what's going to be the B lift? Okay, so if we define, if we start breaking down the drop section here, then this is going to be 32 bars, and this will be the A, right? And then this will be the B. This will be the C. And this will be the D. Okay. And so the B lift is simply the lift that happens after the A, right? So the lift. So here's just the chill section with the entry drops, or with the entry spots. And then in the B, it plays again, but what are we going to do? You can't just play it straight through and play it again. Somebody to Love, I think, by Ben Kim, which is a recent track. If you watch that analysis, I expect something to happen in the B, like to have a B lift, but nothing happens, and it's totally cool. But in this case, we're getting a B lift. We already have the 16th note shaker, so he adds in, of course, another classic lift, which is just going to be a ride. Okay. Now, I think we talked about hook drops before, because I was talking about the bass drop. The bass drop is just where you introduce the bass line, the groove, so that later on, once you've taught someone the groove in the bass drop, now they get it, they get how the bass line's going to go, they know how they're going to dance to it, then later on you can throw hooks on top. And so that's what we're getting here. And so I call this the hook drop, okay? And so this is the first proper hook drop. I'm going to call it HD1 for hook drop 1. Then over here we're going to have HD2. Okay, but the hook drop is the drop now that's going to have the groove, but now you can throw hooks on top because everybody already knows the bass line. They already know what the groove is. Now they want something new. They want something exciting on top. And so John's given it to them in the form of some spot hooks with the synth riff, the new vocal, what you've been doing, and then the synth stab. So these are new, exciting sounds that are playing over a groove that people are already familiar with at this point. Okay, so that's why this is called the bass drop, introducing the bass. This is why this is called the hook drop in my language. Okay, and that's because now we're putting hooks on top of the groove. All right, and what did we get here? We got the exact same thing that we got before. We got the white noise coming up, we've got the snare roll, we got the stutter synth, and we've got the high pass or the kick going away for a bar. Check it out. Let's play that again. Okay. Same thing as over here. Okay, synth, snare roll, white noise, and we got the little edit. Okay, same thing as before. Again, those are signposts. So that's kind of like recycling the punks and using them over and over to provide structural clarity for the listener. Yes, that sounds a little pretentious, but that's exactly what's happening. So whatever. Again, I need to work this out for myself, but we're having this accent, but it's also kind of a downshifter kind of thing. So that's something I need to work out. What am I going to treat this? Is this a down effect or an accent effect? I'm going to put it as an accent because there's no energy decaying here. So, but it is like kind of a downshifter type of thing. All right. And what do we get? Of course, you know it. We got the exact same punks and edits. Okay, we're getting that low reverse vocal, and then we're getting that kick cut. Okay, parallel structure again, because now we're getting a B lift for the second half. Okay, so if you think about the way that this drop is structured, and we'll probably go into this at the end, but this whole drop has a clear A-B section. So the A is going to be, you would say, the spot hooks, and the B is going to be the Vox phrase rep. Okay, where you're just repeating the phrase over and over, but clear. Okay, remember, we're talking about the hook development. And so here what I'm doing is I'm breaking down the drop into the specific hooks, and it's a clear A-B structure in the hook development. Here we have the spot hooks, here we have the Vox phrase rep. okay? And so in each of these sections, in the A section, we have a B lift, okay? And I know that could be a little bit confusing because I refer to the sections of the drop as A, B, C, and D for the 8-bar sections. But we can also talk about part A and part B of the hook drop. And so those are separate things, but unfortunately they have the same, A, B alphabet, okay? But so what I'm saying is in the A section here, we have a B lift. And in the B section, we have a B lift, and that's both the ride. And so we have that parallel structure going on, at least in the groove. So if we were going to take the hooks away, okay, you could see that these are identical sections. They're just copied over like that. But again, that's not a bad thing. That creates structural clarity. And it makes a lot of sense. So here, we're repeating the hooks, but then we need a lift. Okay, we need the energy to rise a little bit. Now we're introducing a new hook. We can take away the ride, and then we're going to repeat this again. So let's bring the ride back. Okay, now we're going to add some energy. It's going to be a lift section. Okay, so this D is going to be a lift. Cool. And this C is going to be a chill, and this A is a chill, because now we're just chilling out with these new hooks. And over here, now we're chilling out with a vocal over the drop. This is the first time we've actually had the full vocal phrase repeating over the drop. All right, it's kind of what people have been waiting for, and we pushed it back with these exciting spot hooks, and but now it's playing finally here in part B of HD1. All right, so same elements again here, but you can see that this is now a 2-bar edit. This is a 1-bar edit. So P32, all right? This is P16, P32, a little bit more dramatic, but the same elements are there, just presented in a slightly more dramatic form. We're still getting the white noise up. We're still getting the snare roll up. We're still getting that stutter. Wow, that is stuttering on the word stutter. We're still getting the stutter synth. Okay, so there we go. All right, now let's go ahead and go into the main break and build. So I'll go ahead and create a new little thing, MBB. And just in case you're wondering, some might be wondering how I'm able to create just on the fly like that. And if you just go to Command K, if you create a little key map for set, and I just have it as the slash, that will allow you to create a new marker wherever you want. And you can see also right here that I have comma and period set. And what those keys are going to allow me to do is quickly move between the markers. So if I hit the comma, I can move to the left marker. If I hit the period, I'll move to the right. I'll just keep on moving to the right. You see that? And so that could be pretty useful if you're someone that likes to use markers or would like to use markers. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going. All right, and now we have another rule. And everything that I've been saying over here with the structural clarity, the A, the B, these are all, like, again, those rules that I was talking about, especially the structural clarity stuff. And again, that's one of, I think, John's talents is not only the way the hooks develop over time, but the clarity with which they're able to develop over time. And so what I'm doing, and when I'm trying to break things down into these higher levels, or break things up into the higher levels, is just show you that structural clarity, okay? Damn it, I forgot why I mentioned that, but we're going to keep going anyway. I know why. Because I think I heard my neighbor walking up or something. But it's because I was talking about rules, right? And so that was one of the rules. But another rule that we're following here is a strip section, strip drop. Now, a strip drop is not a rule, but it's a very common and popular thing to do, okay? Because what a strip drop will do is it serves as a transition from the drop here into the lower energy levels of the break. Now, you can just completely do a cliff dive. A cliff dive is where you just cut the energy, cut the lows, and you just go right into something like this. So this probably won't work very well, but so that would be an example of a cliff dive. But you can see and feel that having a strip drop there just makes that transition a little bit smoother, okay? Because you're keeping the lows, but you're still bringing the energy down by taking a lot of the drums away. All right, so this is just kick and hat, and of course we have the bass. All right, and now this is going to be Vox full verse, I'm going to call it. All right, just like this. And I'm going to put it on a separate track again because it is different than this vocal. And so having it visually different says, hey, there's something different here. Okay, and yeah. Okay, and we need to go get those Atmos over here. So same thing over here, but now we have the beat HP and we have the bass HP. So you can see how this is palatable. Maybe that's the word, but easy. Like that, you can see the levels of energy kind of dropping. Okay, we're dropping into the bass drop here. We're taking away the drums. That takes away a little bit of the energy, but a lot of that energy is still kept going. The momentum is still going because we still have the lows. But then we take away the lows, but John brings in the beat elements again. So we're not completely taking things away. We're just taking away the lows, letting the energy fall, but it's in kind of a tiered way. Okay, so very digestible. Okay, we're cutting the kick. I call this weighing anchor. Weighing anchor is a shipping term, and I actually looked this up because when you take away the kick, you're taking away the anchor of the track. And I thought, what is it? There's got to be like a sailing term for pulling the anchor up, and I think it's called weigh anchor. When you weigh the anchor or whatever, you're pulling it up, you're taking it away, and now the boat is kind of free floating. It doesn't have any anchor. And so in the build sections, especially in the main break, or sometime in break one, but especially in main break, when you take the kick away, the track is just floating. Okay, there's no anchor. It's uncertain. And so that's what's going on here. You take away the kick. And so now we just got this uncertainty, which builds tension, right? We don't have the beat. We don't have the pulse of the track anymore. And so, I mean, that's a great technique because later on, boom, we're going to get it, okay? And so I just thought I'd throw that technique out here. Another one of those quote-unquote rules that John just happens to be following, okay? It's just a great technique. It's an effective technique. All right, of course, we have the tension, and then we have the follow the leader synth. And those are... I think this is, okay, this is LP up. Okay, so this is growing, LP up, could be growing, and when I say growing, I mean like in reverb. This is washing out. Okay, we're using something like Endless Smile, bass clef washout. Okay, we can hear the snare roll. Okay, so the snare roll is low passing up. So typical build elements here. We got endless smile stuff going on. We got a snare roll. We've got a white noise riser coming up. Okay, so again, it's washing out. I put high res here because you could hear the, so there's a new riser that comes in. Okay, so the snare roll, we're getting some broken parts. He's playing 30-second notes sometimes. Okay, so actually just in the second part. Okay, so over here we're getting 30-second notes. Okay, so I'm just going to W. Okay. So right here. Or maybe just before, so. Of course, then we get the pipo. All right, so let's put this here, and we'll do the pipo, and we'll take this out. I'll take the white noise out, and there you go. And so this is basically just an extended version of break one. Okay. Here we're getting that phrase rep. Here we're getting the verses. Okay, but in both cases, in break one and in the main break and build, we're getting the tension vocal and the tension synth here. The tension reps right here is just drawn out for 16 bars. That's it. Okay.
It's the way you look at
All right, classic John Summit right here. We're getting a false start. And this is something Chris Lake does a lot too.
It's the way you look at
Okay, so a false start is exactly what it sounds like. You think you're going to start. It's kind of like a fake out. I like to call it a false start for whatever reason. But, you know, you think you're starting, but then it kind of breaks down in a certain way. And then after the false start, you have the recovery. And so let's just listen to what's going on here. What's in the false start? So we have the kick, we have the bass, we have the synth here. So let's just actually label that in the clips here. Okay, so now the recovery is how do you get back into the main groove? So what's he doing? So over here, let's do recover and list out what's going on. So he has a reverse crash, okay? Okay, then he has a broken snare fill, right? Because it's not just so anything that when I say broken, it's just like breakbeat, right? It's so a broken snare roll is just something that's not 16th notes. It's plays some kind of other pattern. And then we got the lasers, okay? So, and then let's do this. Let's do rec and lasers. And we can also put the lasers down here on accent. All right, and then there's a little bit of a white noise too, okay? But that recovery laser thing is pretty important because it's accenting that moment right here, okay? It's accenting that main recovery point when everything does come back in again, all right? So, but you can see, even with the false start, we're getting the same hook pattern as we got before. We're getting that synth riff, then we're getting the what you've been doing, which kicks us back off, and then we're gonna get the stabs. Sorry to stop it again, but again, here with the pipo, and same with break one, he's still not resolving it. okay? Because the pipeau doesn't ever land on feel. It just lands on that delay, okay? So let's just listen to that just to get a feel. Just a cool technique, right?
It's the way you look at me.
Okay, and then when the things are back in swing, we're still getting those 2 stabs, and then we're going to go right back into that standard hook structure that he's been using. And of course, what do we have here? We're having the signposts. Okay, already brought them over. We're going to have that low reverse vocal, and we're going to get that single kick cut, and then we're going to go right into the next section with repeating the spot hooks. But of course, we're going to have that ride lift. And so this is what I call a sandwich. A sandwich is when you have HD1 and HD2, which are pretty much the same. And I think in this track they are the same, but let's just listen to make sure. There could be some variations, but let's check it out. Exact same thing as before, right? So we're getting that, what is this? Looks like 1 bar kick cut or high pass kick. We're getting the white noise up, we're getting the snare roll, and we're getting the stutter synth. We're also getting that pickup on the vocal that's going to take us into the next part of the drop. Remember, let's just go ahead and bring over the super high level structure here of the drops, which is the part A, part B. And now we're going into part B. We've got the vocal phrase rep. And then in the B here, we're going to get the lift, okay, or D, however you want to look at it. So A, B, C, D, or the B lift here of part B. So. One thing that's cool is this reverse actually has a little bit of a reverb, and it's something that I noticed earlier too. Let's just make sure it's not happening over here. Okay, so it does happen over here. All right. I thought, you know what would have been cool is if this one cut off, but then the second one had the verb tail on it, because then there would be a little tiny bit of variation, but it, you know, that doesn't matter. Okay, so let's see, verb tail. Just want to label that. Okay, you can hear that. And right here too. And right here maybe. Yep, and you can hear exactly how he's filtered the verb. So it's probably Ableton's verb. And then there's, you know, on the input processing, you could really bring down just the lows. And so you're hearing the breathiness of the actual vocal. And then when the verb tail happens, you're hearing that the filtering on the reverb itself. So now you can do that all within inside of Ableton's reverb. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he's doing, but you could do it that way. But all right, let's see. Cool, so here we're getting, again, probably the most dramatic edit. Let's see how it compares to this one. So these are a little bit different here at the end. Okay, so you can hear the 32-second roll in there. But you're still getting the stutter synth, you're getting a snare, you're getting white noise, and you're getting the edit under here, all right? Okay, so one thing I wanted to do was compare these two drops. So what I've done is I've created an audio channel, and if we go get the utility plugin, I can reverse the polarity on the this drop right here. And if we play them at the same time, what's going to happen is if these are the same, okay, then if these are the same, then they're pretty much going to cancel each other out. They're not going to cancel each other out exactly, because there could be, like, I don't know, this could have gone through an analog kind of mastering, which is going to have imperfections along the way. The limiter, even on a digital limiter, might not be responding the exact same way across the entire track. But let me get a Sharpie here. Just draw what is going on in my head, just to kind of visualize it for you. So what's going on is, all right, so this is basically what I'm thinking right now. Hopefully we can see this. So this is drop 1, HD2, and this is HD1, the one I just copied over. And so we just flipped the polarity. So I'm going to put the polarity flip sign on there, okay? And so you can see if they're the same, then the peak is going to line up with the trough, and it's going to just null out, okay? And this trough is going to line up with this peak, and so they're going to null out. So if we say, like, this is +1, right? This would be -1. So +1 and -1 are going to add up to 0, okay? So if we're going to say this is -1 and this is +1, then these two are going to null out as well, and that's going to be true at every point along the way. So if this is plus 0.5, this is going to be minus 0.5, okay, which is going to null out. And again, that's going to be true for every point along here. So all I'm saying, I'm trying to break down what's going on with flipping the polarity. These should null out. They're not going to null out exactly, but what we're going to hear is the difference between the two. Let's check it out. So I'm going to play it around here because we have the false start right there. So they are pretty much nulling out, okay? Okay, high frequencies are very hard to get exactly right because they're so fast. So just any slight change in a limiter or anything can change the phase a little bit, or an EQ or like a multiband compressor can change the phase just a little bit, which is going to knock the high frequencies out of sync with each other here. And that's why if you're going to do these like null tests, you're going to hear a little bit of high frequency stuff, but you hear that they're pretty much canceling each other out. Okay, little variations on the reverb back there. Anyway, I just want to show you they're pretty much nulling out. So this is pretty much copy-paste, which is fine because it's a cool drop, it's great structure, it works, and people are going to want to hear it a second time without getting crazy on the variations. So let's go ahead and just write HD2 here, HD2, and I think we're moving into the outro. Holy crap. All right. Look at that. We're still getting the signposts here. Okay, those recycled P8 and P16. Okay, crash here. So this is almost a boring outro, and a boring outro isn't a bad thing. A boring outro is something that basically just plays the groove and then cuts the groove away in some way, usually by taking the bass line away or by high passing the low end. But a proper boring outro doesn't have any of the previous hooks in the track. It's just groove and subtraction. Okay, but in this case, we've got the what you've been doing hook just thrown in here in this 8-bar section, okay, which is funny, but there it is. So not a proper boring outro, and that's cool. Okay. And of course, I'm going to say it again, even till the outro, we got these signposts. Okay, and so again, we're going to get that white noise, we're going to get the snare roll up, and we're going to get the stutter synth. And you can hear it very clearly here, all three of those. Maybe not the snare roll in this case. So just the white noise up and the stutter synth. Unless my ears are completely deceiving me. Cool. And so let's just write out for good measure because we labeled all the other sections. So like I said, what I would mention here is just the traditional structure. So the traditional structure is just exactly what we have labeled here, minus the intro break. So a traditional structure would be intro, bass drop, break 1, HD1, MBB, HD2, outro. Okay, that is your traditional structure. And all you would need to do is cut this away, and then that is exactly what 80 to 90% of tracks follow. Now, just with some variation on length, but this one that we're looking at right here is what I call the modern, like the perfect modern traditional structure, where you have intro for 16 bars, you got bass drop 16 bars, you got break 1 16 bars, and the rest of the sections are 32 bars. So HG1 32 bars, MBB main break and build 32 bars, HD2 32 bars, outro 32 bars. Okay, each of them divided into an AB, which is exactly what we have going on here. So the only variation that John has based on my analysis of a traditional arrangement is the intro break. Okay, and so there's tons of, and again, another variation you can do with a traditional, which is kind of common. These are like the two most common variations, is having some kind of outro break. So some kind of gap or break between HD2 and the outro. Okay, and like I said, John actually uses this in Beauty Sleep. Okay, but the thing is, like, like when I'm making my tracks, for example, what I'll do is I'll start with a kind of traditional arrangement. And if I need to, or if I'm feeling like something else needs to go in there, then I'll create like an intro break, for example. Like in this case, he wanted to tease the bass line and he wanted to tease the hook through the Vox Rep LP up and the intro break before he reintroduced those later on. Okay, that's my guess. Okay, and so that's why the intro break was, used here. Now, I'm not saying he thinks about this consciously at all. I have no idea. But anyway, that's just me making sense of it. But so that's the traditional arrangement. But what I really want to point out is like the structural clarity of his track, of this track. So we already broke down the high levels of the drops, but you can see even the main break and build, and break 1 is divided into a clear A and a clear B. Okay. And the thing that I love about this track is the build section, because you have that special build vocal that uses the jumpy uh, melody that inherently creates tension because of the jumpiness. What a perfect vocal repetition to put in the build section. Not only are you getting the repetition, but you're getting that jumpy, unstable melody. And so that's just really cool. And then accenting that with a fast synth. Okay, the synth is playing follow the leader, but a 16th note rhythm. Snare rolls are 16th note rhythms. Those are unstable rhythms. No one's going to want to listen to a snare roll for just playing 16th notes the whole time. It's got to come to an end, right? And so that tells you that something's we're building towards something. And so the combination of that vocal here and the synth is just awesome. And that shows up again in the MBB, again in the B section. Okay, so the main break and build, we got the break, which is basically just kind of subtracting down the energy from the drop. And the way that we do that is it starts with a strip drop, then we move into just a high pass section. But this is the first and only time that we get the full verse of the vocal. So a little bit of variation on the vocal, because otherwise this same vocal would have been playing for a minute. So here we're getting the full verse, and then over like a strip, and then the high pass. And then we're getting into the build section. And the build section is defined by those two elements, which is that kind of cool, jumpy melody repetition, and then the synth that follows the vocal line. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, is how I want to just show you how simple this setup is. Like, look at the layout of these hooks right here. Really simple. Easy to hear, easy to digest, but varied enough to be interesting. So John has he has this synth, which is kind of like just like a plucky saw wave, pretty much. Now, I think I did see that this is simply a sample. It might even have been like a melody riff that he found on Splice or Loop Masters or something like that. Okay, but that's just a plucky saw. And then you got the What You've Been Doing male vocal, four mounted down, that contrasts with the female vocal that has those cool effects on there. Okay, and then what I'm saying is the vocals contrast with each other. That we have a male vocal that's four mounted down, and we have a female vocal that has some cool effects on it. And then the sound design hooks. Okay, the sound design is going to be this little synth riff, the plucky saw that's filtered, versus this synth, which is a lot more resi. It has more higher frequencies. It has a delay. It's also panning left and then right, whereas this one is a wide sound. And so the sound design has certain contrasts in and of themselves as well. The vocals have certain contrasts against each other. But this little hook section right here, we're getting different hooks presented right after each other. Okay, so the plucky saw, and then the male vocal, and then we're getting the little synth stabs, the resi synth stabs, and that's enough variation for it to repeat 4 times. And in the over here, all we're doing is just adding a ride on top that just lifts the energy and gives it what it needs to continue repeating. And then we just change into part B of the drop, which is going to be that phrase repetition where we get the B lift ride. And then at the same time, we have that kind of like the signposts that are accenting the P8, the 8-bar section, and then the 16-bar section. And so everything is extremely structural. Everything is very clear on what's happening. And so the key thing is just picking the right hooks and then presenting them clearly and confidently throughout the track. And that's exactly what's going on here. And then we talked about a bunch of the other little rules that John is following throughout, like following the leader with the synth. We got a false start here, which is a cool thing to follow. What other ones? My mind is a little bit tired at this point. So I think I'm going to end it here, because I covered as much as I possibly could, and we ran a little bit long. I usually like these to be about an hour. This is about an hour and a half at this point, just under. But if you got any questions, leave them down below. If you have any comments that you'd like to add, if you have any insights that you'd like to add, then leave them down below. Again, this is probably one of my favorite tracks of 2021. I think it's a great reference because of how simple and clear it is, yeah, especially for like beginners, but intermediate, advanced producers. There's a lot to learn from this in terms of simple presentation, clear structure, and just go after the big hooks that are catchy and that people will latch onto over a groove that just works. All right. So that's it. I'm done. I will see you in the next one. Peace.